Hey, what's up people? Today I want to share my Spyderco collection. Apart from cold steel, Spyderco is the second most represented brand from all my knives, and quite arguably my favorite folding knife brand overall. I had many more Spydercos over the years, but I had never had this many at the same time, so I figured it's quite a good opportunity to make this video right now. So I will go through each of them individually. I have ordered them into small knives, medium knives, large knives, and a couple expensive ones, and the fixed blade. So let's just start with this one. This is the Spyderco Dragonfly, which packs quite a punch for such a small knife, and has a beautiful leaf shape with the swedge. I wish Spyderco would still make this blade shape more often, as they used to. This one is the Sprint Run in PD1 and Burgundy, F4N. PD1 is basically Carpenter's Kruger, but a little bit improved in terms of performance, I think. It's a great steel, fantastic in edge retention, stability, and, you know, not super stain resistant, but quite okay, and it sharpens beautifully. The Dragonfly is quite tiny, sometimes too tiny, but like I said, it cuts great for such a small knife. I'm not sure if this is my favorite color combination of this model, but it's a cool little knife. This one is really nice as well. This is the Chaparral, quite arguably one of my favorites among the small ones. It's very thin, has a nice polished backspacer via pocket clip, which I acid washed. Also dyed the handle scales. And the super thin and slicey XHP blade. CTS XHP is one of my favorite steels. It's very ergonomic for how thin and light it is. Fidgeting is not its greatest strength since the action is really tight. But the quality is amazing on this Taichung Taiwan factory knife. And yeah, you cannot go wrong with a Chaparral. Performs great. This is the UK PK, which I bought on the secondary market long time ago for a really good price. This is a slip joint, so it has a half stop, and because of that it makes a nice sound, like a two-stage sound when opening. When closing you can preload the blade, so it snaps closed. So it's actually quite fun. Via clip, very lightweight construction. This one is CTS BD1 blade steel. I don't know why I said it this weird. This one is CTS BD1. BD1 was before BD1N, which is the more nitrogen-based version, which Spyderco uses right now. BD1 was okay in performance. It's like a mediocre performing steel. It's good in everything, like a jack of all trade. Does not stand out in any particular field, but it's an okay steel. Now, this one is great for countries that have laws on knives, especially on locking systems. But this one, quite honestly, just lives in my kitchen drawer, and it's really good for that as well. So eventually, or ever once in a while, I should say, it unpacks packages and from groceries and stuff like that. It's a really good knife. They make it in Magna Cut now as well, I think. This one is a budget Spyderco that performs really great. This is the Astute. The Astute has a fantastic long cutting edge for such a small knife, as you can see. It's one of the longest or the longest cutting edge among the small Spydercos. But it sacrificed that for a large handle, so it has a short handle but a long cutting edge. Thick blade stock, so lots of rigidity, very thin grind. The price makes some sacrifices, so you get T6 screws in the body construction, and you get an 8CR13 MOV blade steel. 8CR13 is basically Chinese Aus 8, it's really just a copy of that steel, but it performs great. The heat treatment seems to be really nice, and the performance is amazing. This knife is so thin behind the edge, it cuts really, really good. This one should not be overlooked. Fantastic budget Spyderco. The Astute. This knife really doesn't need any introduction. The Delica is an all-time classic, both in VG10 or K390, like this one right here. It's thin, it's lightweight, it's reliable, cuts great because of a thin blade stock and the thin grind. Yeah, really there doesn't need to be much said about the Delica. It's a fantastic knife. Good entry-level Spyderco, and also advanced level Spyderco, I guess. Among these small ones, the Native is probably the most ergonomic. So this is a knife if you need a small knife, but with a good hand-feeling grip. Now arguably, the micarta scales right here are not as ergonomic as the FRN ones, which are a little bit more 3D contoured and have more give to it. But this is still fantastic in ergonomics. Has a nice polished backspring. And this one is Crewware steel, which is a fantastic steel in edge stability and longevity. Not super stainless, but quite okay. More stainless than K390. Has a really nice blade shape with that swedge on the top. The cutting edge is just a little bit short, but it's a good Spyderco. It's very solid. I came in a little bit late with the Native, so I'm used much more to other smaller Spydercos, so I'm not quite sure if I will keep this in the long term, but it's a really good one. I do see why people like it. Amazing construction also, and the action for a backlog is fantastic. Lockup is solid. No blade play at all. Next up we have the Para 3, which is the cowboy among the small Spydercos. Very fidgety with the compression lock. This one I put skinny mod micarta scales on there, which are really not needed. I think the standard scales, they work just fine. They're even better in ergonomics, so yeah, no need for skinny mod scales. The deep carry pocket clip is nice though. Has a fixed spine and a thin tip. This one is S45 yen, not my favorite steel. Quite brittle at the cutting edge, but very good against abrasives and very stainless. So I guess good for modern human materials. Yeah, the Para 3, kind of an overrated knife in my opinion, but very popular. Yeah, I like the PM2 and the military better with the straight spine, so it's okay, I guess. I see why people like it though. Me personally, I prefer the Sage though, when it comes to the compression lock. This one has the most dialed in detent that I've ever seen on any Spyderco. Such an amazing detent. This one is the bright yellow Magna Cut version, so from the Salt series, which is also why it has the completely rust-free construction, which also looks nice visually. I had very mixed feelings about Magna Cut so far, and I will talk about Magna Cut quite a bit in my next videos, because I've done a lot of testing with this steel. Decently thin blade stock, could be thinner behind the edge, so it's quite a thick version of Magna Cut, but yeah, the Sage is a super fun model. I think it's like a mixture between a Native and a Para 3 almost. This is a great one. This one is an discontinued Bob Lum design. Bob Lum was an iconic designer, and this one is an iconic knife shape. This is a traditional Chinese knife, which is also why it's called the Chinese Lum. So it's basically a Chinese traditional shape mixed with a modern folder, made in Seki City, Japan, with titanium scales in this version and VG10. Really nice blade shape. Look at that swedge on the top. Fantastic knife. I wish Spyderco would still make this. I'm not sure why they don't make Bob Lum designs anymore. He obviously passed away a couple of years ago, but, well, actually more than a couple of years, but yeah, I'm not sure why they stopped making his models, because they were all fantastic. Liner lock, backspacer, nice contrast. Yeah, love this knife. Absolutely love this knife. This might be my favorite Spyderco at the moment, the Spyderco Leaf Jumper. And this one was quite overlooked when it was released, which is also why it is discontinued now. So it was one of the most underrated Spyderco knives ever in production, because this one is fantastic. This one is a combination of many of the small ones and an improvement of many of the medium Spydercos. It has the best ergonomics that I've ever seen in a Spyderco, and a really long cutting edge for a small Spyderco. So it's really competing with a lot of the smaller and medium sized ones. And it's the only backlock from Spyderco that you can close like this. Not sure why that is. Might be the spring tension, might be the backlock orientation, but you can flick this closed like a compression lock, which is super fun. This one is K390 serrated. I love the Spyder Edge. You should absolutely get a Spyder Edge in your collection. It's a lot more durable than other serrated edges from other companies. And I like the fully serrated. I don't like half serrated. I either go full or plain edge. And this one never gets dull. Like never. I use it almost every single day. There is not a single chip in here or anything. K390 is a fantastic steel, really good in high edge retention against abrasive materials, but also decently stable at the cutting edge. Not stainless, as you can see. Yeah, this one is thin, lightweight, easy to carry, and a really great performer, the leaf jumper. Such a great knife. Such a great knife. Another underrated Spyderco, but not an underrated model, the Tenacious, very well known, but this one is the M4 version. So I guess many people didn't want to pay the high price for a Chinese-made Spyderco, but this one is just fantastic. You know, Spyderco, they make either long cutting edges and short handles, or short cutting edges and long handles. And this is one of the long cutting edges and short handles. So it has more cutting edge than a PM2, for instance, and other medium Spydercos. But because the handle is short, they also made it wide, so you get a decent grip on here. You get a really thick blade stock, same as with the Astute, thick blade stock, but thin grind. This knife is 9 thousandths behind the edge, so 0.2 millimeters. Amazing geometry, and because of the blade steel, CPM M4, amazing performance. Brown G10, a liner lock that is curved, so the tang of the blade is curved, so it's very, very secure. Just a really good Spyderco. This one and the leaf jumper might be the best medium-sized Spydercos. M4, really good steel, also not stainless, but really good at the cutting edge, especially at thin cutting edges like this one. The PM2, most recognizable Spyderco, probably because it doesn't look as weird as the other ones. It's a medium-sized. I carried mine for like 5 years straight. Used it quite a bit. It could be more ergonomic, it could be thinner behind the edge, it could have a better steel than S30V, which is again high edge retention against abrasive materials, high stainlessness, not good at toughness at the cutting edge, but a good steel. I learned to like it over the years. Yeah, the PM2 is sort of an overrated knife model, but it's also good. It's okay, you know, it's not bad at all. I see why people like it, and I like it also quite a bit. I have carried it for a long time. I just think for now there are better Spydercos for my current life, so this one does not get carried as often anymore. I thought about getting a lightweight version, but you know, I like this one. I've had it for a long time, works great. The biggest competitor or the oldest rival to the PM2, the Manix. I think the Manix is probably one of the best looking Spydercos. Maybe even the best looking Spydercos. It's not my favorite though. But I like it for a couple of reasons. I think it was very innovative when it came out because it had the ball lock, which is basically an improvement of an Axis style lock with a ceramic ball and a coil spring. So it's a much more durable spring, much more longer lasting. It's almost like a shark lock before the shark lock was around. So it's a really, really, really strong locking system that was made a long time ago. Really good detent also. Yeah, the Manix, iconic knife. Long handle, short cutting edge. You need to know that though about this one. Quite ergonomic and quite lightweight in the lightweight version. This one was pre-screws on the scales. And this one is CPM Rex 45, a high speed, high alloy steel. Amazing performance, high edge retention, really high toughness and really high hardness. Not very stainless though. Great steel, one of my favorite steels also. The Stretch, really popular knife within the recent years. I can see why, because it's very ergonomic, has a thin blade stock and a thin grind. It's almost like an improved PM2 and comes in K390. So for the price, lots of benefits here. Now I think this is one of the most ergonomic Spydercos, next with the Leaf Jumper. So these two, they're just amazing in terms of ergos. I still like the Leaf Jumper better. Has the same handle length but without the choil, and the same cutting edge length, again without the choil. So it's more compact but does the same things. Just a little bit better in my opinion. So again, the Leaf Jumper is the most underrated Spyderco here. But yeah, the Stretch, great knife. Just has a little bit of issues with blade centering and blade play. So I think the Seiki City production, they have some quality issues in recent years. Not dramatic ones, but like, you know, small ones. I wonder whether that's because Spyderco has increased their production in the Seiki City models, or because they don't have enough good people over there. I don't know. But yeah, the Stretch, very popular knife for a good reason. Yeah, good knife. Now the next knife is also an icon and one of my favorite Spydercos overall, the Endura. So when I got this VG10 Endura, before I had a Delica and VG10, and it was always a little bit too small for me, so I traded it for this exact Endura. The other guy wanted to have a smaller knife and I wanted to have a bigger one, so it was kind of a fun story. And I had this for a long time, and I'm really not afraid of using or breaking or losing it, which is also why this one is a knife that I travel the world with. So whenever I go to a faraway country, I bring this Endura. So this one has been on the summits of many mountains. It has been in the Alps, has been in the Pacific Ocean, has been everywhere. So it's really a knife I could never get rid of. VG10, very simple to sharpen. Very, very uncomplicated knife. I like that. You know, the Endura is basically a combination of many other Spyderco categories. It really has the weight of one of the smaller ones, the overall size of the medium ones, but the cutting edge length and blade length of the large ones. So it's the best combination of everything basically. Yes, it's an outdated handle design for sure, but it's very thin, very lightweight, has a really compact package, and then a ton of cutting edge, and in combination with a high performing steel like K390 and with serrations for instance, it works great. Fantastic knife. I had 4 Enduras at some point, now I only have 3. This one is my favorite one probably, the PD1. So the same one, same sprint run as the Dragonfly before, with the burgundy scales and Carpenter's screw. Really good steel. You know, kind of a story, not really a fun story, but you know, one that I always remember is we had a bad flooding a couple years back, and I was kind of stuck with the same knife for a week because there were too many things going on. I didn't really have time to change my knives every single day. So I had this Endura and it worked really well in that situation. It's a simple knife, it's very reliable. The steel performed great, it did everything I needed it to. The blade stock is robust enough to do harder cutting, but the grind is thin enough to do fine cutting. Just an amazing knife. You can really rely on Endura if you have to. And like I said, it's such a good combination of many attributes that make Spyderco great. Love the Endura. Oh, next up is the Stretch XL. The bigger version of the Stretch. This one is a little bit more classy with Kruger and G10 and a polished backspacer. So this one really feels like a modern traditional. Feels like a very classy knife with a lot of blade performance because of the thin geometry, thin grind, and crew wear steel. So really high performing knife right here. I don't like the T6 construction. I mean, it has a T8 on the pivot, but apart from that, it's a lot of T6 screws. And I don't like the blade play, which is present on all these stretch models, apparently. But yeah, apart from that, it's a fantastic design. I wish Spyderco would up the quality a little bit, just a tiny little bit. Then it would be the perfect large Spyderco. Very ergonomic and thin at the same time also. Oh, this is another great one, the Native Chief. In this case, the lightweight BD1N version. So the nitrogen-based version of BD1. Good at everything. Jack of all trades, not really good at one particular thing, but it stays sharp for a decent amount of time, sharpens well, very stainless, decently tough. It's a good steel. This one is my dedicated beach knife. I don't go to the beach very often, but if I do, I bring this one because it's very lightweight. In fact, so lightweight that I can carry it in swimming trunks because this one does not have any liners. Some people hate that. I'm not sure. I think I like liner versions better, but you know, it's a really good knife for special purposes, like I said, swimming, for instance. And the blade and the cutting edge is long enough to cut fruits like watermelons, for instance, so it's a great summer knife. Yeah, the tip is needle thin, so you need to be careful with that. Fantastic. Small package also. Not a raised spine on here, so the opening is a little bit slower, but it works great. The Native Chief is a good one. If you've been watching this channel, you know that I love the military one. I like the one because of the good ergonomics and the really tough liner lock. Again, the lock face here is curved, so it locks in quite nicely. Arguably the best liner lock that has ever been on the market. And the detent on this one is fantastic. And I didn't really do anything to this knife in terms of cleaning over the years. Never really disassembled it. This one runs just smooth because it has been used so much. And it's still perfectly centered. This one is CPMS 30V, not my favorite steel, but decent. And yeah, just love the military. I did make the scales a little bit darker though. Now because I love it so much, I have the same knife in black. Has a decently thick blade stock also and a pokey tip, I like that. It's a good knife for everything. Cutting, slicing, stabbing if you need to. Could be used as a tactical knife, but could also be used as a fantastic EDC knife. So that's what I like about it. It's a jack of all trades. It's very thin and lightweight. Carries fantastically. I like the tip down. I know it's a weird thing to say, but I like it. It's very quick. My third military is in 50-100 steel. So it's a low alloy steel. Kind of an odd choice for a modern folding knife, but I do like it quite a bit. And then it has those beautiful carbon fiber scales. 50-100 is a super tough steel. It's an old school steel, 123 years old. Yeah, love this knife. And I love the odd choice that they made here with the steel. It's really for the people that love their Spydercos, I guess. For the knife nuts. The police is basically like a combination between the police and the military. So it has the length of the military, even a little bit longer. And then the blade shape of the Endura. And this is the Police 3, arguably the most beautiful version of the Police with the swedge on the top. So it helps it glide through things, but it also is very, very beautiful visually speaking. This one is VG10 and G10. And this one is the old school Seki City quality. The blade is perfectly centered for such an old knife, and the lockup is super tight. There is not a single bit of blade play, nothing. Like really, really solid. So yeah, I think the Seiki City production was a lot better back then. VG10 is a simpler steel, obviously, but it sharpens great, achieves a high level of sharpness. It's a really good beginner steel, and also a really uncomplicated steel. I like that. This knife is great. I had it in my pocket today while running. I do trail running, and this one is a good knife to bring. It has a lot of reach capabilities, but it's lightweight and thin, easy to carry. Nice polished backspacer also, really nice. This one is a classic. Could never get rid of this one. This is a tactical Spyderco. This is the Yojimbo. No, actually it's the Yojimbo, the bigger version of the Yojimbo. Yeah, thick spine, hollow ground S40V blade. Very, very scary in terms of performance. So this one performs quite dramatically in terms of a tactical knife. This cuts very, very deep. Grippy G10. Compression lock. The G10 is so grippy that I had to sand it down underneath the clip, otherwise it just eats through your pockets. The knife does open a little bit slow, so it's a little bit slow to deploy for a tactical knife, and it's very wide also. That's what I don't like about it. In terms of performance, it's great, but in terms of carryability, I don't know. And then the handle is, you're really locked in here. So for a big handle, you're locked into a very short, small position. Some people remove that hump in the middle so they're not as locked in. So yeah, but I guess for cutting edge orientation it's great. For ergonomics maybe not so much, but yeah. You can put your thumb on here. I think that's how Michael Yannick, the designer, intended it. Great performance. I'm not sure if I would really carry this, because it's just a little bit too big and bulky and slow in deployment. And very expensive for what it is. But yeah, it's a good performer, I guess. Oh, this one is another classic tactical Spyderco, the Masada Yub. So this one has a pistol grip design, thick blade stock, thick grind. So it's not really thin behind the edge. It's more of a stabbing tool than a slashing or slicing tool. And yeah, polished backspacer, Kruger in this case. Really doesn't make any sense at all in this case. Kruger is a fantastic steel, one of my favorites, but this one is way too thick behind the edge, so the steel cannot unlock its potential here. And it's also not stainless, which is not great for a tactical knife that you might carry very close in an appendix position or something similar. So yeah, I would much rather have the old VG10 version of this because I think it makes more sense. And this is an interesting concept. My most expensive Spyderco, the Spyderco Swayback, Martin Slisch design. So the designer of the Spidey Chef and the Techno family and the Slisch buoy. 3D contact titanium. Very lightweight for a full metal construction. Really nice detent. Thick XHP, but thin behind the edge because it's hollow ground. Really nice performing blade. I don't carry it too often, but it's amazing in performance. Was discontinued recently, so it's a little bit more valuable, I guess, now. But I think I will still use it. You know, why not? Has a weirdly pocket clip though. Like it's really far away from the scales. It's a good knife. Internal stop pins though. Yikes. Now last but not least, my only Spyderco fixed blade. Spyderco Street Buoy, designed by Fred Perrin, in my own Kydex sheath. This one is an interesting one. It's like a kitchen knife that was tacticalized with a swedge on top. Decently tough, even though it's just a stick tang. I even batoned this one. This one is very lightweight for such a long knife. Yeah, and as French as it can possibly be, I guess, in terms of designing. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Maybe we see each other in another video. Goodbye.